people are taking pills and numbing out, and there's other stuff first. Like, this is an end symptom. What about what led to that? All the self-regulation they've missed, and all the coping strategies they haven't learned that led them there. And so we believe strongly that this is really a K through 12 conversation.
Hello, I'm Laura Ollinger, your host of The Positively Healthy Mom, and I'm excited to be here today to introduce you to two amazing women. I haven't told you this during our little get to know each other session, but I've been following your work, which is just amazing. So today our conversation is going to be about the mental health of teens, the power of community to change its outcomes. And I'm so honored to be joined by Amelia Floyd, co-founder and president of Engage and Heal, and Kathleen Hazenkratz, who is a licensed professional counselor and co-founder also, and who's very passionate about mental health literacy here in Texas. So thank you both for having the courage and commitment that you bring to this work. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's do a little background. What brought you all to start this organization together?
Well, I would say that it started back in August of 2018 when my oldest daughter's best friend died by suicide. Eric had just finished his first year as a cadet in the Corps at A&M. He was a varsity football player at Lake Travis, an honor student, an Eagle Scout, an amazing young man. And he came home in May and started spiraling, and we lost him in August. So it was a very brief 3 months to have to navigate how he was feeling, and he kept it very closed off. So I started a scholarship in his name, and we raised $10,000 at a mini golf event and awarded 3 $2,000 scholarships to football players in need per the family's wishes.
Beautiful.
The tagline for the scholarship was Engage and Heal. It's actually an acronym for Eric's name. His name was Eric Hansen. And we decided that that was not enough. And so in October of 2019, I sat at my kitchen table with Nonprofit for Dummies and wrote up a business plan and approached friends and acquaintances to be on the board. The current principal at Lake Travis at the time introduced Kathleen and I, and she has been on since day one. So we've really grown. It's been 6 years now, and we've been able to donate over $20,000 back to the school district in providing mental health therapy online for teachers and staff through Anticipate Joy. We also brought the ropes course back. We were able to help them reopen it. It actually was something Kathleen started back in 2008.
I mean, that thing has been around.
So we were able to fund it so that they could start to use it again. And it was been very positive, the response of having it being used and the teamwork and communication skills that our youth have to go through to get through the ropes course. Really, our importance has really been on the education about mental health and mental health literacy and starting a conversation, because you never know if you open a door, if you smile at someone, if you let somebody go first in line at the checkout. You never know whose day you might make by just the slightest effort of being kind.
Well, and what I loved about Amelia when we first met, Laura, is that I was coming from a background as yourself, as a trained clinician, and had worked in the school district at that time for probably 25 years, Lake Travis, the last 13 of those. But I met her because of her passion, and it was so interesting because the timing was impeccable. I don't know if she said this, but her daughter, one of her daughter's best friends was Eric. That's how Amelia was so involved. And so here's this woman who doesn't have any professional training, but was extremely agitated, but agitated in a way that created her momentum. And when the principal at the time introduced us, I had all that expertise and she had all the drive, and it was just this perfect synergy to create, some passion work, because our whole board, what a great group of people, are all volunteers. Nobody's paid. And in our 6th year, we do fundraise, and a lot of that is primarily to give. Like Amelia just said, here we're working this hard and we're giving money back to the school district to try to help them help kids. But what we've learned over the 6 years, I think, has been our biggest takeaway, is that mental health literacy piece, and Amelia referenced it, has become what we really acknowledge as something everyone can understand. You have financial literacy, mental health literacy. We need to teach what it is and what it isn't. It's so much more than, I feel sad or I'm depressed. And so I won't rant right now on all of those pieces, but we just feel like we're really making some headway in doing education and then helping people find local resources, because we don't offer direct services. You can call us and we'll make sure we hook you up with 2 or 3 possible therapists. But we aren't in that action of like me getting on and having every one of these people that contact us as my client.
Right.
We don't want to be service providers.
Yes, I understand. So, with that being said, the moms are listening, and I have a feeling some of them are thinking, well, what is mental health literacy? Like you said, it's kind of like we get the concept of it, but like, what is the definition? And so, what is kind of the basis behind that?
Go ahead, Amelia, because here's what I want to show you is that Amelia, this isn't her background now. Okay, 6 years in, she's pretty good. But here's a layperson, right? Go ahead, Amelia, go for it. What is it? What's mental health literacy?
Mental health literacy is basically understanding the difference between a symptom or a feeling,
Sure,
versus diagnosis. For instance, to give your listeners some background, a lot of kids say these days that they're anxious. I have anxiety. I'm so anxious. Well, the difference between anxious, asking somebody to prom, taking an exam, those are all normal anxieties. Whereas my youngest daughter has trouble getting out of bed, not being able to physically slow down, to do homework, to calm down towards a test. Talking somebody off a ledge is hard. And I now have the experience only because of the work that we're doing, but learning how to talk to your teens and to listen to your teens, your children, are 2 very separate entities when it comes to mental health. A lot of times parents, and I will admit that I've done this, is you don't listen to what they are saying, or you don't stop, I should say, and listen to what they're saying. And the way they know that you're listening is twofold. One is you acknowledge and repeat some of what they're saying so that you show that you're listening. And 2, never say, I, or when I was your age.
Lord knows.
I'm almost 60 years old, and trust me, I've been there. But when you can say, do you want me to listen or do you want my advice?
Yeah.
You're acknowledging your child. Now,
Right.
Teenagers, that opens a whole different bottle of words. Younger children, they also have trouble expressing themselves. So when we talk about mental health with children, you break it down. Are you feeling sad? Do you hurt? Does your tummy hurt? That kind of thing.
Right.
And you can talk to them the same way you're talking to a teen. It's just got to be broken down for that age group.
And, and that was great, Amelia. And I think, Laura, too, part of it sounds like as you're like, well, no, duh, right? Like that makes so much sense to you. But we think about your average parent and just having that conversation with your kid about, how was your day at school? Fine. Like how do we even go from unwrapping that fine to really getting into how their day might have been? And then how do we know what to do with it once they've told us that? That's also part of mental health literacy. When do
Yes.
you get help? When do you just, work at it at home, or when do you call a professional? These things. It's same with you had a bad cut. Mom and dad can do so much at home, but when's that tipping point where you got to go to the medical piece of it? So it's that,
Mhm.
the differentiator of understanding the nuances of even dialoguing, like Amelia said.
Right, right. And especially I have 2 boys, 2 girls, and so I like to kind of say, what you might see in a boy is different than you might see in a girl, and, boys are naturally less chatty with their moms, typically, stereotypically. I do
Sure.
one of my sons is actually very chatty, but one of them is a little more quiet, and it's like, when at what point do you and I'm not talking about my son, but just in general for moms with sons or daughters, do you start to think, "Oh, they've been quiet now for 2 weeks. They haven't come
Correct.
in the room as much. This is different. They're not
Yeah.
hanging with their
Looking for
friends." It's
that.
like having that checklist. And so is that kind of something that you share, like, at some type of a how to go through, like, looking at those symptoms and signs, and, like, at what point have we crossed over that line to go see a clinician?
May I jump in, Amelia, on that one?
Absolutely.
Laura, that's a great question. So, no, we don't necessarily give a checklist, but we do now have the MindMap app. And so, what we're very excited about is this app is powered by an organization called Sharpen, which is an evidence based mental health platform. And this platform was created by their mother load, their technology company. And I just drew a blank. I want to make sure I say it right. What is it, Amelia?
Resiliency technology.
Resiliency Technologies. I want to make sure I give them a shout out. And in Resiliency Technologies has award-winning modules in a mental health literacy app. And this is what we've got. We've got this library at our fingertips. And in there, you're going to see more of the signs and the symptoms and the checklist and what differentiates anxiety from just sadness. What's the
Mhm,
difference between I don't feel good in my bathing suit to I might have an eating disorder. So their
mhm,
modules are evidence-based. They're right at the fingertips, and it is just amazing. So we are beyond excited to be able to provide this to the community free of charge.
mhm,
And it's really awesome because it's also self-discovery. So you can, if you're not sure if you have a problem, they go in and you can answer like some checklist questions.
mhm,
And if they feel that, you need the next step, you move on to the next step and they keep going. And then there is a point where it says you may want to look for help. Turn to our resource page at least to start. But the foundation of the app is really under four buckets, and it's cope, nourish, heal, and thrive. And under
mm,
each one of these tabs,
mm,
there are different things like there's a journal prompt, there's mindfulness moments, there's little vignettes of other youth or adults talking about mental health, whether you click on anxiety or you click on depression, and you can see what it quote unquote looks like. And it's very, very, very user friendly.
mhm.
And like we said, it's free. It's amazing how the content can.
Yeah, so I want to say one thing. First of all, it's free because we fund it. Okay, so I want to give us a little tout there,
Yeah,
because this is part of what we're doing with our money now. We're like, wait a
cool.
minute, can we
Yeah.
give it to a school district who may or may not use a ropes course, or can we be in control of this education and get it to everyone free of charge? So
Mhm,
that's where we've kind of diverted ourselves. But
mhm,
secondly, to say what you were saying, Amelia, um, it can evolve. And the cool thing is we can add content. So they have these evidence-based modules under the mental health literacy, but the other pieces, mind sharpeners and mindfulness and just some of the, the cooler, more light stuff, we
mhm,
can create it. We can create vignettes. We can load onto there with their help, with Sharpen and the technology help. But the coolest thing is having our local therapist. And I wanted to say this to you, take a look at it. Let us know if you'd like your presence on there,
mhm.
if you have room in your caseload. But we have people can go and they see, Kathleen Hat. They don't see Kathleen House in France,
But
because I don't. But they see the local therapist.
Uh,
The Texas Anxiety and OCD Center with Don
mhm,
Bareilles. They're seeing people that are here in the community. There's a touch, boom. You're already at their website and a contact. Matter of fact, out of our 76 users that have downloaded the app since November 5th, there were like 22 reaches for help, Amelia. Is that what our
Yeah, there were 22 reaches for help. And from those 22 reaches for help, I think it's 100% that they keep coming back and using the app.
Oh, amazing. Amazing.
So, yeah,
Yes. Oh, no, I want to clarify 15 contacts through the connect button using 988, which is, as we all know, the mental health
Right.
911, and going right to the organization, which means I'm going to go to this particular therapist website and I'm going to go into it specifically and make a connection. And we
Wow.
want to drive people to resources. That's one of our
Mm.
biggest goals.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. So as we're talking, I'm thinking, okay, who out there is kind of like, I want to say overlooked, but not in your classic type of overlooked. I know a specific kind of like segment of people that exist. And, we probably are both have some awareness of this where there are these like very high achieving families. They
yes,
expect a lot of their kids. They're really great students. They are going to go to amazing colleges or do go to amazing colleges. And somehow the parents are blinded. They struggle to acknowledge that there might be a mental health challenge in the family. And so, therefore, it's never even on their radar to reach out on behalf of their child. And so, is this app filling that gap where the child can get it on their own? Like, is that how it can work? Or is that kind of what it's used for?
yes. The answer is yes. Now, there is an age limit. There are, because of HIPAA compliance, we do not sell or give away any information, nor do we use it.
Mhm.
If they were to go on our website and to click on to join our newsletter, that's how we would get their information. But yes, the kids can go on there themselves, and there are the videos and content for their age appropriateness. We're really tracking more teens right now, and older,
Mhm.
but we are looking towards putting in content for middle schoolers. And
Oh,
we're
cool.
trying to figure out a way to give them only access in a certain part of the app so that they don't have access to other things that could be concerning to parents.
Quick pause in this episode to tell you on April 30th at noon Central Time, I'm hosting a free webinar for moms called Get Through May Without Losing Your Joy, Your Mind, or Yourself. And if that title just hit you somewhere, go save your spot right now at positivelyhealthycoaching.com. If you can't make it live, no worries. Sign up anyway in advance and I'll send you the recording.
Because suicide prevention is in there, built into the Resilient Technology Corporation that created this, really believes that that's their basis for suicide prevention. And
Mhm.
really, when you get down to it, we believe in that as part of mental health literacy is resiliency. So what Amelia's saying makes so much sense, though. We got to be careful because some of the mental health modules are really geared for high school and adults. And so right now we are working to figure out, can we make sure a middle schooler doesn't click that they're a high schooler and then get into that part. And it's
Mhm.
nothing, I mean, it doesn't teach you anything that I would say I would want my 13-year-old to know, to be honest.
Mhm.
But it depends on the parent. And of course, we want to give them that
Mhm.
autonomy, the parent.
Yeah, which
But
I do find as a challenge, and I imagine you both do as well, where parents do want to shield or protect their child from that word, the S word, because they think it'll somehow give them the idea or something they didn't know about already, or something to kind of investigate on their own. Whereas really the research shows it's actually the opposite, right? The more that word becomes kind of, I don't want to say a household word, that's not the right term, but just like a word that is open to be discussed and it's open to have a conversation about, that it's actually less likely you're actually having a decreased rate. So can you speak to that?
Well, it's interesting. I was going to go back to what you said earlier about the point of, the more structured home, we're straight A
Mm,
student and all, and they don't see it. And that's pretty much what happened too with Eric.
mm,
Everybody thinks everybody's okay, and they're really not. And these kids are struggling. And
mm,
if, you know, you don't want it to get to the suicide piece because there's a lot of things in mental health literacy that can help them and can help them hopefully not even start, to drink and use drugs.
To numb out. Yeah. Yeah.
But the suicide piece, it has to be taught with the mental health piece, at least in my world. You can't have one without the other. If you're just teaching about suicide prevention, that's great. I mean, we need it, obviously, but you also have to teach the component that gets you to that point, in a sense.
Right.
Well, Amelia and I always get flustered. And we believe so much in fentanyl awareness, believe me. And we were watching them get promoted in the state to get a curriculum approved by TEA and to be mandated into our schools that there would be at least one event yearly around this awareness for kids, one educational piece. And, we can't get that for mental health right now. And we said to ourselves, and we think this is so much more clear, people are taking pills and numbing out, and there's other stuff first. Like, this is an end symptom. What about what led to that? All the self-regulation they've missed and all the coping strategies they haven't learned that led them there. And so we believe strongly that this is really a K through 12 conversation anyway. But
the other thing I wanted to point out is a lot of times what has happened also with mental health is there's a trigger. So in all of these great athletic academic families, there could be a trigger. For instance, the athlete gets hurt, the athlete gets benched, the straight A student gets a B, or something happened. That's pay attention to those little things, because those can become extremely big things.
Yes, which is part of what we want to teach people with mental health literacy.
And I think also the other thing that I mean, not a lot of your listeners may agree, but it's okay to make a mistake.
Yes.
It's okay. You learn from that too. And more, I think that's a key factor that's not happening in our society nowadays. That, when I was growing up, and as I said earlier, I'm almost 60, you pick yourself up by your bootstraps, or, you fall off the horse. They say, get back on. Nowadays, it's, oh no. But yes, you got to try again. I said, if all the times that I was told no while I was been doing this foundation, let me tell you, there would be a lot of times I couldn't pick myself up through COVID and everything. And we launched 3 weeks before COVID. So I give myself as a perfect example. COVID happened. Of course, I got a little depressed from being indoors, and I got COVID. And then finally one day I just said, you know what? Zoom call, let's get this going. And it was the little engine that could. And now we've reached our teenage years, and we really, we're able to spread the word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I like how what Amelia just explained in her own way was resilience, right? And grits. And I feel like we talk about this all the time. Like, why won't our parents let these kids fail out here and experience the learning that comes from failing? And that's what we're talking about, like making the mistake, picking yourself back up and going for it, instead of mommy and daddy helicoptering in, or now what's the new one, lawn mowing over.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So I love that Amelia was really teaching about how to stay resilient as parents, to model that for our kids, because that is definitely a part of prevention when it comes to mental health.
Yes. Man, I really admire the work you're doing. And, I haven't shared that it's also personal to me, what you're doing. I did lose a family member to suicide in the year 2021.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
And so, I'm passionate about this topic as well. So I really do want to just help you all spread the word. That's why I was excited to have you on, to share this message and to, help it grow and help it really. It sounds like you said you're in your teenagers here, so it's already taken root, it's sprouted, it's growing its branches, and it's really taking off. So I really admire everything that you shared today. Is there any last kind of important message that you want the moms to be aware of?
I feel like we need to remove the shame of asking for help. You realize the stigma around mental health is still there. I think it's getting a little bit better. But if we could say one thing to moms, it's like, oh my gosh, aren't we all in this together? Look at us. It's really a community that can connect if we can remove the worry about being judged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to that end, I would love to say that reach out to us. I mean, we're not judging. If you have a question, please reach out. If you are looking for help, please just click anywhere and, we'll put you in touch with people that can help you. We continue to have a presence in the community, whether we're doing presentations at the schools to the various PTOs, or if we're doing it in the community to at a chamber event or hosting one of our own events. Please come out. Please come and see us. We're here for you. I'm doing this because I don't want anybody else to experience and feel what I felt. I mean, I vowed on his casket to do something. And so I live with the notion every day that I knew something was wrong, but didn't know the parents. And so I feel guilty for not reaching out and talking and saying something. So if you see something, it's the same thing. Say something. I'd rather somebody is angry with you for 48 hours than we have a whole other situation at hand and we're having to pick up pieces versus to be able to be at a point to pick up pieces and there is a continuation.
Yeah. And I think that language is perfect. If you are that mom who has to maybe make that awkward phone call, maybe that's the language that you use. Like, I'd rather have a really awkward conversation and you might be mad at me for what I'm about to say than to have something that would be long-term unrepairable. And so, just even modeling that language is great. So how can people get in touch with you all?
Go to our website, engageandheal.org. We're also on Facebook and Instagram at Engage and Heal. And you can also check us out on LinkedIn, and that's Engage and Heal Foundation.
Wonderful. So Amelia and Kathleen, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really admire, again, the work that you're doing and appreciate you sharing this message.
Well, thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Thanks.
When you get a chance, please go to the show notes and click on the link ratethispodcast.com/TPHmom to give my podcast a rating and review. And if this episode resonates with you, be sure to share it with your mom friends who are going through the same things. Be sure to tune in for next week's conversation. Until then, keep up the good work.